is good, everybody? What's up? Yo, testing mic check. 1, 2. What is this? My audio was jacked up a little bit. All right, there you go. It's good. Yo, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm Marcus here. We do attorney reactions to current events and trending news. And we have a few interesting stories today. We're going to start by talking about people in law enforcement who find themselves on the other side of the bench and clearly justified, probably. I haven't even watched the video on one of those, but yeah, as soon as I read the headline, I was like, you know what? Jail sounds like the place you should be. What's going on, Maddie? I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for your support. And then we are going to pivot because we have a few interesting stories. We're going to talk about the New Orleans jailbreak. It's just an absolute mess. It's an utter failure. Sheriffs, mayors, a lot of people need to be fired and unemployed because of it. 10 inmates escaped, and these aren't inmates who are in there for like petty theft. Like, no, these inmates have bodies. People have subsequently went and hiding because these guys are out. It potentially looks like it was an inside job. It was an absolute debacle, and people should be held accountable. Hence the name of the on the thumbnail. This is the accountable episode. Finally, we're going to take a look at a crematory who is being sued for $20 million. This one is a little bit of a legal discussion. We're going to talk about a legal cause of action, a tort that is being brought against the crematory for what they did to this family and that poor, rest in peace, 2-month-old baby, or what they didn't do, what they should have done, however you want to talk about it. We're going to dive in. If you enjoy this content, get some value out of this video, I definitely ask you, I know it's repetitive, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Let's go ahead, jump into our first story of the night. We're going to talk about why this is completely wrong, why he belongs in prison, and why he is going to be convicted.
Thanks, Stacey. A former federal prosecutor will now have to go to trial. He faces charges over a stabbing incident on the Howard Franklin Bridge. Today, a Pinellas County judge rejected a stand-your-ground defense of Patrick Scruggs. News Channel 8's Jeff Patterson reports that the former prosecutor is now facing serious felony charges.
Former prosecutor, attorney, should know better, should know the law. He should know at least what to say to the cops to try to make it seem like his actions were rational. They're talking about the stand your ground law. It's subject to a lot of controversy. Long story short, the stand your ground law is essentially a concept that says you don't have a duty to retreat in the event of a threat. Some states like, oh, you gotta try to retreat if it's possible. Stand your ground, like, no, you have a right to be in the space that you are in, and you have no duty to retreat from a threat. If a threat comes and is severe bodily harm or death, you can engage with deadly force. So let's see his stand your ground argument, how ridiculous it is, and why he's going to be in prison where he should be.
Former prosecutor Patrick Scruggs claims he was justified in his actions and had no obligation to retreat the day he repeatedly stabbed a man on the Howard Franklin Bridge. Today, a Pinellas County judge rejected those claims and ordered him to trial. There are multiple.
All right, now we're going to pause it right here. I don't even need to see the rest of this video. I'm actually probably going to forward it a little bit. Let me see. I'm actually probably going to forward it a little bit because YouTube get a little janky. But right here, just from this image alone, this guy's going to fucking prison. Okay, I mean, where he deserves to be. Generally, you can use deadly force if you perceive a threat or severe bodily harm. The victim is in his vehicle. You can see the victim had his hand out as if he's trying to stop him from being stabbed in the neck face region. The victim can't follow him. He doesn't have a firearm from what we can see in this image. Everything that's occurring here is solely because this ridiculous guy wants to just commit a crime and think he's above the law because he's a prosecutor. But everything I see from this video, just from this pause screenshot, is absolutely terrible. As you look at the still images, he's just giving the guy the business. I'm sure some gun flapping going on. Now let's pick it up. We're going to pick it up right about here.
Several witnesses say Scruggs looked enraged when he used a knife to break out a driver's window and then stab him.
So the driver the window wasn't even down. He broke the driver's window with the knife, then proceeded to stab him. Prison.
Saw the knife in his hand, and I said, oh my gosh, he's got a knife in his hand. He's stabbing that person. That's what's happening. And it just made me just absolutely sick.
On the stand, Scruggs testified he saw a passed out driver who he thought was attempting to leave the scene. So he says he did what he had to do to stop him.
Okay. This guy's an idiot. One, for his actions, but he's much more of an idiot because of his argument to the judge. This Yahoo made the argument that I did what I had to do to stop him because he was going to flee after an accident. That is not a basis to use force. He was the complete aggressor in this situation. I don't even know why he would say that. He said he saw a passed out driver, then it appeared to be as if he were leaving the scene. The only thing that could have been said, which still wouldn't have justified it, is, hey, I approached the vehicle to talk to this guy and I couldn't see his hands. He appeared as if he was reaching. But all of that is negated because the guy had his window up. It looks like the windows of that vehicle were just fish tanks. You can see right through, so his hands will be readily visible. And this guy didn't say he didn't say anything about a deadly threat or a threat for severe bodily harm. So with that being said, Mr. Former Prosecutor, your stand your ground defense is denied, as the judge rightfully did. Good call from that judge, and you will be going to prison for the ridiculous act that you pulled.
Or just get out of the car on his own.
But today, Judge Keith Meyer rejected the defense of stand your ground under Florida law. The judge saying, in part, based on the circumstances as they appeared to the defendant, a reasonable and prudent person would not have used the same force as the defendant used. As a result of the ruling, the judge set a trial date in September when Patrick Scruggs will face felony charges of aggravated assault and aggravated battery.
Aggravated assault, aggravated battery. Honestly, you stabbing somebody in the upper face region, I would say that is probably I don't know. To me, that he's lucky he didn't catch a murder beef. Honestly, attempted murder beef. Honestly, I think he's getting off a little bit light without being charged with that. But he deserves exactly where he going. What's going on, Prima Donna Bridges? I appreciate you tuning in. Now let's go ahead. We're gonna stay first on law enforcement, people who are employed in the criminal justice system who did something stupid. Federal prosecutor did not pass go, did not collect $200. You're going straight to jail. This next case is about a cop, a police officer who was on the fraud side of the game. They tried to finesse, or they did finesse, a nice sum of money. Let's jump in and talk about it.
A former Westminster police officer has been charged with pretending to be disabled while
pretending to be disabled is the worst. You know why? Because I'm a disabled vet, and I don't know. I've never been a fan of people who try to defraud the government, because at the end of the day, we always pay for it. This is a police officer who, one, should have known better, and it's your job to uphold the law and not break it. But come on, you pretending to be disabled, that's kind of goofy.
Dancing and drinking at a music festival, skiing, even running a 5K. Orange County reporter David Gonzalez live in Westminster on the felony charges she's now facing for the alleged workers' comp fraud. David?
Michelle, we reached out to the Westminster Police Department, but they had no comments. The Orange County District Attorney's Office calls her actions shameful, and they say the real victims are the taxpayers.
For a police officer to engage in that kind of behavior is absolutely disgusting.
Former Westminster police officer Nicole Brown faces serious prison time for allegedly stealing hundreds of thousands in fraudulent workers' compensation payments.
That's actually crazy. Like, I haven't even watched this video. It was just sent to me, but it says $600,000 worth of fraud. How long was she doing this shit for? And that's a large amount of money. I didn't know people get, like, to get $600,000, you had to have been doing this for a long ass time. That's actually crazy. They said that they have footage of her doing activities that she should not have been able to do because of her bogus ass disabilities that she alleged.
After telling her department she was unable to work due to an injury she suffered while on duty in March 2022.
She suffered a small abrasion to her head. She went to the emergency room that day. The doctor cleared her without any restrictions on duty. She took a couple days off after that and then told her department that she had been diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury by a doctor who put her on temporary disability.
The Orange County District Attorney's Office claims Brown collected more than $600,000 tax-free, including all medical bills.
I was just about to say, I don't know. This is kind of weird because I figured the $600,000 included medical bills. But she just told them she suffered from a TBI. Like, normally to do disability fraud, it requires a fraudster, i.e. this ridiculous officer, but it also requires somebody in the medical profession to give you some type of bogus diagnosis, some type of bogus paperwork. So normally when you see these types of program fraud, you will see a kickback going to the provider in exchange for them writing these bogus medical issues in your medical record. So I don't know. I don't know how the hell she did this without a doctor in on it, unless they just took her word for it. And if they did, that's a piss poor system, and a lot of people should probably be fired.
She was engaged in an incredibly active lifestyle where she was running, skiing, going to Disneyland, doing all these things that she said she could not do while she was working as a police officer.
Hey, with a traumatic brain injury, I don't know. I don't know what she put on her paperwork, but you could go to Disneyland with a traumatic brain injury now. Come on. You talk, this is somebody who had brain surgery, had 3 of them. You could go to Disney World with a brain injury, no matter what your level of recovery is. But it'll be interesting to see what was on her paperwork, what procedure codes were actually in her file.
The DA's office launched an investigation after Brown was caught dancing and drinking at Stagecoach Country Music Festival.
Hey, that's a real thing. If you're out there claiming and filing for benefits, I don't care if it's VA benefits, any type of disability compensation from your job, they are going to have people follow you around to see if you are doing things that you should not be doing. So again, you should not file fraudulent claims, but if you are filing fraudulent claims, be prepared to live a life of doing absolutely none of the things that you enjoy, because they are going to follow you. They are going to take pictures of you lifting mad weight in the gym and, you know, at the club, shaking your groove thing, all that.
People who knew that she was on full disability witnessed her behaving in a way that was not consistent with what she was telling her department.
Brown's stepfather, Peter Gregory Schumann, a licensed attorney practicing workers' compensation defense for insurance carriers, is charged with helping a stepdaughter orchestrate the fraud.
Nah, there goes the answer. I was so confused. I was like, yo, her father, who was an attorney, helped her commit this fraud. I should do a story on him. Hey, shout out to her father for helping her be all she can be as a criminal. Shout out to the both of them for being stupid. That's actually shocking. I had no clue. I had no clue that was in that story. That's actually hilarious. I was so confused. Like, how did she pull off this type of program fraud without having someone on the inside? So now I know what happened. Okay. Typically, when you have attorneys who practice this type of law for disability compensations, they have a network of doctors. Now, I'm not saying those doctors are sleazy doctors, but some of them do have a network of sleazy doctors who will write you letters and give you diagnosis for compensation. You see it all the time in the VA. In the VA, like literally, I did all of my stuff on my own because I was like, fuck it, I'll just figure it out. But there are people out there who like, yo, if you got a VA claim and you need a letter or something that says that your issue was caused by your service in the military, reach out to our doctors and they'll charge $1,500, $2,000. So now it all makes sense. Her father was an attorney. He probably had a network of physicians he can go to or that he would send his clients to for treatment, probably to run up medical bills with bogus ass diagnosis. He probably utilized those doctors to help finesse the paperwork so his daughter could get $600,000 in finessing benefits for disability when wasn't anything wrong with her. Now, I'm interested to see, I'm sure there'll probably be a few physicians in this as well, but shout out to her for being arrested. Shout out to her father for being arrested. Hey, get them all.
He was representing her at some of the meetings with the department and her case manager, where he was describing what she was prohibited from doing.
Brown is now charged with 15 felonies, including making a fraudulent statement to obtain compensation and making fraudulent insurance benefit claims. Her stepfather is also charged with conspiring and soliciting someone in an unlawful act. And if convicted, Schumann faces 8 years behind bars. If found guilty, she faces up to 22 years in prison. Reporting live in Westminster.
Great story. That's actually a great story. Great story. I hope the attorney, her father, get the full 8 years because he should have known better. And I hope she get every bit of those 22. Trying to finesse the system. That's crazy. The cop had her attorney father to try to finesse the system. I'm gonna tell you, I did not see that one coming. That was interesting. That's how those crimes normally play out. There's normally a third party. There has to be medical documentation. I'm 100% convinced that she got the medical documentation from her father's network of physicians that he probably used to send his clients to because he did disability compensation. Send them all to jail. They're looking at 30 years between them. 8 for the attorney, 12 for the 22 for the police officer, and I think this gonna be an open and shut case. This one gonna be actually easy because all the facts are in the paperwork and in the video footage of her shaking her ass at a country concert. So I don't know. It is what it is. Shout out to stupid people for doing stupid stuff. Now, I don't know. Did you all hear about this 10 inmate prison break that occurred down in the boot, down in Louisiana? It's interesting because yesterday we were talking about Mystical, who is in custody for sexual assault and rape allegations. He's looking to have a bond hearing soon over the next few weeks where they can address his bond to see if he could potentially bond out. And it looks like they're going to try to start scheduling the trial. So he's been held in prison in Louisiana since 2022 and has not had his trial. So doing that video yesterday, someone left a comment and said, you don't know the Louisiana criminal justice system. It's a cold game. And as soon as they said that comment, the next story that popped up on my feed was this inmate escape. Looked like it was an inside job. We're going to watch a couple videos on this. I think the sheriff, a lot of people who are in charge should be fired. They're all on TV now complaining about financial resources is why this happened. But that could be the case. But be that as it may, hey, this is the accountability episode. And somebody got to be held accountable for 10 extremely violent felons with murders on their records with murder charges being released into the public and them not notifying the public up until I think it was 3 or 4 hours later. So let's go ahead and check out this video and talk about it.
Inmates still on the run. We know now at least one family is in hiding. Escapee Derek Groves was convicted of killing 2 men on Mardi Gras 7 years ago.
They got is multiple guys who escaped, who were convicted or either charged with some type of homicide, and now they're just out and about on the streets.
We talked with family members of one of those men, and they're stuck wondering how this happened, why they didn't find out sooner, and what they can possibly do next. Here's Rachel Hanley.
Wednesday, Jamar Robinson's family celebrated his birthday.
Love you, miss you.
2 days later, they were in hiding after finding out that the man convicted of his murder had escaped from prison.
Just get all our family members out of the city. We had to get everyone out of the city. Didn't know what way we was going. Where we was going, crying, devastated.
2 of Robinson's family members spoke with us over the phone. They asked not to be named for their safety.
This is actually crazy. It's very, very, very bad leadership. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not going to say that these attempted murderers and convicted murderers who are out aren't going to try to go do something to the people's family, but it's normally very, very rare, because the reason it's rare, not saying it can't happen, but the reason it doesn't happen is because when an inmate escapes from prison, their number one focus is normally not going back to prison. It's very rare that a person would escape from custody to try to kill a witness or go after the family members of the victim. It is just extremely rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all, but it's just something that happens very rare, because when you escape prison, you're just trying to get as far away as possible and stay out of custody. So, I mean, if they had any common sense, they would have tried to get out of the goddamn states. Honestly, get out of the state. But it's probably unlikely. If this person was in custody and he didn't have the resources or the pull to get you touched from him being in custody, it's less likely that he's going to escape prison, and instead of trying to keep his freedom on the escape side of the game, he's going to go to a victim's house or a witness house where cops think he would probably likely show up. I just don't see that happening. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think it's going to be very, very rare. What's going on? I appreciate you tuning in, Foxy2, Roxy3. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. All right, let's go ahead and finish checking out this debacle and piss poor leadership that led to this escape.
Robinson and another man, Byron Jackson, were shot and killed on Mardi Gras in 2018. Derek Groves was arrested for their murders. Late Friday morning, someone they knew called the family and told them that a group of inmates had broken out of Orleans Justice Center.
Look at this shit. This is sad. Fire the sheriffs, fire every correctional office. Everybody needs to lose their damn job, and probably people need to go to jail too.
Groves was one of them.
No one notified us. No one tell us anything. You know, we had to leave work. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how Derek Groves felt like with this process of us. You know, either he was coming for us. We didn't know.
They say they went to a nearby police station and 2 officers escorted them home. They grabbed what they could, got the family's young kids, including Robinson's son, from school. Then they left. By that time, Groves had been out for hours.
We just didn't know what to do at that point. And I'm so angry with all these Paris prisoners, because it's like, when I look at the news, I see the boys pulling on the door. Like, this prison was just recently built. And you mean to tell me the doors were that easy to pull apart?
Now, I don't know. I don't think I understand, and her position is fair. So I'm definitely not saying that how she's feeling and the threat she's feeling to her family is invalid. But just statistically, that doesn't happen. It's very, very rare. Witnesses, victims, people get clapped. That does happen, but it's very, very rare, statistically rare, for a person to get out of custody, and when they escape and go to try to take out the family of the victim. That hardly almost ever happens. Just because the number one priority is for them to stay out of custody.
And this is a family that was already exhausted. Groves was convicted of killing Robinson and Jackson in 2019, but the jury wasn't unanimous, and a Supreme Court ruling ended up throwing out the verdict because of it. The next trial in 2023 was declared a mistrial. The next one, later that year, ended with a deadlocked jury. Then, finally, in October of last year, Groves was convicted again. His sentencing was set for July.
It's just crazy. It's like a soul that's not being healed. Because every time we move on from this, something come up.
Now, with Groves on the run, Robinson's family is trying to figure out what to do about their jobs and the kids' school. They're planning to stay hidden while they wait for justice again. Rachel Handley.
They caught a few of these guys, I believe, but with this type of law enforcement, it's going to be hard for them to catch all of these guys.
WWL Louisiana.
Okay, 3. They caught 3 out of 10. They're not going to catch all 10 of those guys. They might catch 5 to 7, but I don't know. The fact that they got out and it looked so easy and orchestrated and they had inside help, I don't know. I'd be shocked. But I will tell you, when people go on the run, when people escape custody, you would actually think that they like go like to another state or 2-3 states over. But no, like 80% of the time, at an 80% clip, when people escape custody or avoiding custody, they literally like go like one city over. Like they not too far from their mama house or their baby mother house. It ain't like they like, you know what, I'm gonna get a whole new start in Indiana. No, they literally at the house they were in when they grew up, or at their girl house, or the next city over. So there's a chance they're gonna catch them. I'd be shocked if they catch all 10 of these guys anytime soon, though, which is in fact terrible.
And take a look on your screen. This is a photo of the inmates. The NOPD told us yesterday that anyone who was a witness in any of these.
Yeah, this dude right here, Anton Massey, I think I'm pretty sure he has a body too, because I remember the tattoos in another news story I saw.
Escapee who witnessed any of these escapees cases or has any other reason to fear one of them, they should contact them for help. And again, 3 are back in custody and have been transferred to state correctional facilities outside of New Orleans. Now, if you see any of them, you're asked to call.
All right, so let's take a look at how
in the New Orleans jailbreak, a maintenance worker at the Orleans Parish Justice Center. A maintenance worker at the Orleans Parish Justice Center has now been arrested and booked into jail. The district attorney claims the worker shut off water to the toilet, helping 10 inmates escape on Friday. Police have since arrested 4 of the escaped inmates. 6 remain on the run. ABC's Faith Abube is in New Orleans with the latest. And Faith,
All right, so they arrested 4 of 6 so far. So they up 1 since the previous video. The maintenance man cut off the water to help them escape. This is absolutely batshit crazy. I don't know. What is the compensation that he got to help them? I know he didn't just help them for shits and giggles because they cool. So I'm interested to know what the compensation was or what the quid pro quo was. I know he just didn't get strong-armed into doing it. Possible, but very, very unlikely.
You just spoke with the district attorney about the arrest. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, Stephanie, we were speaking with the district attorney when that employee was arrested and booked into jail. So details coming to us as it was happening. The DA telling me that he's extremely frustrated that there was such a breakdown in the system, and that what they had suspected for days, that this may have been an inside job, the evidence has actually led them to that. According to investigators, soon after the escape on Friday, they started interviewing employees at the jail there, and they actually talked to Sterling Williams, the maintenance worker there, and he was the one who admitted to investigators that during the escape, in the early hours of the escape, the inmates asked him to turn off the water to the toilet, that they would move out of the way and crawl behind. You remember, we've been reporting that the inmates were able to get into a cell, move away a toilet, crawl through a hole, and got away from the jail running on an interstate. He, according to investigators, Sterling Williams, was part of that plot because he was able to turn off that water. I just want to read.
All right, so let's talk about Sterling Williams real quick. Was he a part of the plot? The general answer is probably going to be yes, but it could be debatable depending on the facts. Now, I know y'all thinking like, man, this dude was a criminal. This dude was a criminal. There's no way it could be debatable, but it could be debatable. I'm pretty sure maybe they did. Maybe they were like, hey, turn off the water so we can move these things out of the way so we can go ahead and break out of here, old guy. Janet, I'm assuming he old. So we could get up out of here, Janet. Maybe that did happen and he just acquiesced and said, okay, sure, I'll help you escape. Let me turn the water off. But what if they gave him some, hey, man, our toilet is in here leaking. Can you cut it off until the morning time? Because we don't want this shit all over the floor. It's going to get ridiculous. So did he help them escape, or was he extremely gullible? That's going to be an argument that clearly his attorneys is going to make. A lot of that would depend. How long has he been on the job? Has he been on the job for 2 years? Has he been on the job for 3 years? Has he been on the job for 10 years? And has he ever done anything like this before? What is his financial situation? Does he have any motive or anything that could be leveraged against him to cause them to help? It's I don't know. There's a whole bunch of arguments that can be made. I don't think nobody's gonna buy them. I'm like, bro, you cut the water off for these. You cut the water off for these dudes. Like, nah, I'm not buying it. But there are arguments to be made. Yeah, there was a jail worker. Yeah, I mean, there were a janitor. I also believe that they have some implications against several people who are correctional officers at this facility as well.
Some of what the DA had to tell us in terms of how this happened. And he said, you know, even Stephen Wonder can see that this was an inside job. 10 violent offenders don't make their way into a pod made for two and make good their escape through concrete, rebar, and barbed wire without being some sort of, or getting some sort of assistance. So right now the investigation is continuing. This is part of a larger investigation that involves other employees there at the jail. We know 3 other employees have been suspended. The DA says we could see more arrests in this case.
Yeah, there's going to be a shitload of correctional officers. Not a shitload, but it's going to be some correctional officers. Because, again, 10 guys all in the same cell. Normally, inmates are segregated. You don't want to have too many in one place without a lot of law enforcement. Somebody did something. Somebody got an influx of cash. Somebody is a member of a criminal organization and wanted to help out the bros or something. Something is up. I don't necessarily know. I don't know. I don't know if the janitor's culpability is something where he actually had the intent to help them escape. I don't know what was said. Or you don't know what threats may or may not have been made as well. So, I mean, the janitor is going to have some leverage. He said he turned the water off. But the way they said it, it didn't seem as if he said, I turned the water off for the purposes of helping them escape. The way it was reported was, yeah, he admitted to turning the water off. But, I mean, if it was a leak and shit was all over the floor, he probably would have turned the water off anyway. Did somebody tell him that was the case? I don't know. I think it's going to be some arguments. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I were listening to it, I wouldn't believe any of that shit. I like, you cut the water off, and how many? What? 10? No, 10 escape? Nah, bro. You going right into custody with him. So that would be my take on it. But it's an interesting story. We'll see how it plays out. Remember, the sheriff is blaming the mayor. The mayor is blaming the sheriff. The mayor is saying this happened because of the budget. The sheriff is actually said they have a female sheriff. She said, I'm being set up. Y'all think it's a coincidence that this happened just before it's time to pick a new sheriff? I don't know if the sheriff's seat is that coveted where somebody would orchestrate 10 ninja prison break of violent offenders to try to get that seat or make you lose your seat. I don't know. Is people really vying over the sheriff's seat like that to commit something like that, to plan a crime like that? I have serious doubts. I have serious doubts, but hold on. Yo, Aaron, go down to the door. All right. Hurry up. Well, just see who it is. Did you see who it was? This dude. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but everybody is blaming everybody. The sheriff is saying it's a setup to try to get her to lose her seat. They're talking about the financial resources and how they went to try to get more money. None of that shit. Well, some of it had something to do with this, but the main thing is, to me, piss poor leadership. This the accountability episode. So somebody should be held accountable, and I expect to see correctional officers and elected or appointed officials lose their job, as they should, in my personal opinion. Now, let's take a look at a story that's a great, it's a miracle. I always like to throw a positive story that happened into the crazy stories because there's always so much bad news. Now, both of these stories are, hey, they kind of local to me. They're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. This is actually a great story that's a miracle, but there is a question on, should these parents be charged criminally? I'm going to go ahead and play the story, but keep that in the back of your mind. This is a beautiful story. We love to see stories like this, but remember in the back of your mind, because I want y'all to let me know in the comments, should the parents have some type of criminal culpability? Let's go ahead and dive in.
It is a story making headlines around the world. A Montgomery County 2-year-old survived a 15-story fall at this high-rise behind me in Silver Spring. Fox 5's Bob Barnard has a closer look tonight.
15 stories is a long-ass drop for anybody, especially a damn toddler to be falling, but the toddler survived. That's actually a miracle.
The toddler has survived to tell the story one day. Behind me is the Enclave. This is the apartment building here in Silver Spring. We went up to the 15th floor to get an idea of what that perspective was from the boy's point of view. Here is one of his neighbors, Mr. Mohammed Karoma.
Just look over there. Just step the door going down there.
That's far as shit. Yo, that's a far ass fall. God damn. Hey, shout out to the man upstairs for making miracles happen so that we can see him.
I don't know if the kid landed on the bushes. I don't know.
He landed on the bushes, apparently.
Yeah, that is a miracle, a miracle, man. Yeah, man. It's really sad.
These are the bushes that apparently broke the little boy's fall. They're not much. The authorities say the boy was on the 15th floor. We circled the balcony there. It's a 20-story building. And around 2 p.m. Thursday, he fell from the balcony. We're told the boy suffered a broken leg and multiple internal injuries, but nothing life-threatening. We're told there were adults at home at the time, but police say they're still investigating how he got over the protective glass that surrounds the balcony there.
Okay, y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Adults were in the house. A toddler gets over the protective glass. falls 15 stories, lands in the bushes, amazingly survived with a broken leg and some internal injuries, but nothing major. Should there be some type of child negligence or something to that effect? Should the adults in the room face charges? I would like to know, one, how high is the protective glass on the balcony? Normally, I'm 6 feet tall. Normally, when I'm on a balcony, the glass normally probably comes up to my chest. So I'm saying maybe somewhere between 5 feet to 5.5 feet high. I also need to know what, if anything, were on the actual balcony. Was it just a balcony with nothing there? Was there furniture on the balcony that he crawled on and climbed on, and that's how he fell over? So I do have some questions, but y'all let me know. Should the parents be held accountable and face some type of criminal charge?
Reaction here in the apartment community this afternoon.
I feel like that children shouldn't be on the balcony, especially unattended, because why are they outside?
I agree with you, Miss Powers.
I have 4 children. They are not allowed on the balcony. And we live on the 5th floor. So the 15th floor, that's crazy to me.
Hey, I agree.
Must have some chairs here.
All right, chairs. So they probably had some chairs out there for the child to climb on.
The kid might have climbed over because there's no way a kid can climb. A 2-year-old, nobody. There must be some equipment right on the floor that the kid used to flip over.
It's definitely a tragedy, but people got to watch their children. Kids shouldn't be. The baby shouldn't have been outside on the balcony.
I agree. I agree with her 100% there. There's no way that a toddler should have been allowed to roam free, get out on the balcony, climb up some shit, flip over the damn thing, and like I don't know. I agree with her 100%. And I'm actually gonna go as far as, I don't know what y'all think. Y'all might be a little bit nicer than me, but it should be some neglect charge. Something should happen from this. I don't think parents should get off with this. I don't think the adults in the building should walk away from this unscathed.
We're all wondering how you can survive a fall from that height. We reached out to Children's National Hospital today to ask that of pediatric emergency medicine doctor Katie Donnelly.
I want to stress first, this is really miraculous, right? This is, falls from this height are usually pretty devastating, if not fatal.
Dr. Donnelly says the weight of the child and the bushes that he fell into likely contributed to his surviving. Montgomery County Police say, in terms of the parents or guardians of this child, no charges have been filed at this time.
No charges have been filed at this time, which to me means that we're going to look into this, but somebody is definitely going to get hit up with maybe child neglect or something to that effect. There has to be some accountability, some culpability here. I just don't even know how the hell this happens. Like, I don't know. Was the screen door open? How did he even open the screen door? Was it just open and he just walked out on his own? I don't know how it happens, but somebody should probably have to go to court in some way or another. So we heard a story it's a miracle. It's an amazing thing that child is still alive. The parents or the adults in the room, yeah, probably should have some charges, but we'll see how that plays out. Now let's take a pivot because we're going to talk a little bit about crematory, and we're going to talk about torts. So we're going to talk a little bit about civil law. This lawsuit is a $20 million lawsuit that was filed. This is actually one of the worst crimes that could potentially happen. Let's take a look at the video, then we'll talk about why. There are worse crimes. I get it. I get it. But this is a bad crime. This is a very, very bad crime. Again, as this is the accountability episode, I don't necessarily know. Hold on. Why is my I thought I had all these videos queued up. Interesting. All right, let's go and check this video out. I got it. We good.
And we're back now with a Fox 5 exclusive, a nightmare phone call for a father. His deceased son's body found decaying in a funeral home instead of being cremated like he was told.
And now those
Absolute terrible crime. Absolutely a terrible crime that if it happens, which it should never happen, but if and when it happens, people are going to be emotionally distraught when it comes to their loved ones' remains not being handled the way that they are supposed to, or the way that the crematory or the funeral home was instructed to handle them. And the reason it's they can file a lawsuit because this is a specific cause of action. This is a specific legal remedy that can be had. Is there any criminal culpability? We'll talk about it. I think there may be some, but let's go ahead and let this video play through, and then we're going to rap about the legal consequences on the civil side, what concept they're using to file their lawsuit, and how could this potentially be criminal?
Phone call for a father. His deceased son's body found decaying in a funeral home instead of being cremated like he was told.
And now those parents who still do not have their son's remains are the latest to file a lawsuit against that business. Our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, has been following this story. Katie, what's the latest now?
Remember, I want y'all to pay attention to what was said. Remember, as co-counsel, words are life. Listen to what they said about the people, about the attorney that was, about the lawsuit that was filed.
Do not have their son's remains are the latest to file.
They are the latest to file a lawsuit. That's going to play in big. The fact that she said they are the latest to file a lawsuit leads me to conclude that this crematory has been doing goofy shit for some time now if other people have filed lawsuits.
Lawsuit against that business. Our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, has been following this story. Katie, what's the latest now?
Chris Parham and LaQuanda Brown were still mourning the loss of their son, Coisier, who died at just 2 months old, when Chris got a call from Maryland State Police. The officer told him he had been the victim of a crime, that they found the body of his son decomposing at Heaven Bound Crematorium in White Plains, Maryland, still in the clothes from his funeral with a teddy bear by his side.
I would be fucking livid. I'm sure they were, but I would be absolutely pissed. Somebody would probably try to do everything the right way, but I could see somebody seriously getting their ass whipped for doing something like this. I mean, it is completely unacceptable.
Funeral with a teddy bear by his side. This despite the funeral home delivering to them a set of ashes. And to this day, they still don't have the remains of their son.
Well, I feel like with any parent, you just can't get enough of kissing them and hugging them. You know, I feel like those moments go a long way. When you just think about, you just always expect that I'm going to get a chance to kiss them again tomorrow.
Coisier was just starting to engage with his parents when he passed away, according to LaQuanda. She says it was shocking to find out his body was still in the crematorium. A visceral reaction after the body she worked so hard to grow and deliver was not returned to her the way she was promised. Heaven Bound Crematorium has been mired in accusations of misconduct since 2017.
2017. Misconduct since 2017. We're in 2025. Why the fuck are they still allowed to operate? I have questions for the licensing authority that you need a license to do everything. Like back in the day, you could be a plumber or cut hair. Now you need a license. Everything is regulated because the state wants the money. If they've been mired by these type of things since 2017, I have no clue how the hell they're still in operation.
When the Maryland Death Services Oversight Board found evidence that it was not properly storing human remains. They were shut down in January after state investigators found human bodies in cardboard boxes stacked on top of one another, with arms and legs hanging out of body bags, along with bodily fluids and blood leaking onto the floor.
This is fucking ridiculous. Throw them in jail, sue the fuck out of them. I would love to see them get the $20 million that they are suing for, but I really don't think that's going to happen because I'm guessing that the people who own this funeral parlor are a few things: incompetent, criminals, lazy, and they probably are tapped out financially.
Governor Wes Moore opened an investigation into the state's oversight board after Heaven Bound was allowed to continue to operate despite those numerous red flags.
Governor Wes Moore, let's give Governor Wes Moore a round of applause. Give him a round of applause because he did exactly what I said should be done. Hey, Maryland, just like a lot of other places, have a huge budget deficit, but this is something that Governor Wes Moore got right. Launch an investigation into the licensing board because there's no way that they should be allowed to operate.
LaQuanda and Chris had no idea Heaven Bound would handle their son's ashes when Stewart Funeral Home in D.C. assured them that they would be taken care of and treated like family.
That's interesting. So they went to a funeral home in D.C. who agreed that they would handle everything, and somehow that job got tasked to this trash-ass funeral home in Montgomery County. Meanwhile, let's listen to all the people who are involved in this. Now I see the picture a little bit clearer now. Let's go and finish up because we got a few seconds left. Then we're going to talk about it.
Now they feel lied to and desperate for answers about their son's remains.
The fact that I did carry him for 9 months, and he was my only boy, my first boy. And then the way he was just forming to look so much like me, and I'm not even gonna be able to experience like his first date, know what his favorite color was. It's just everything all at once. Like when you just thinking about it, it's just like I would never get to know what kind of person he would be.
All right, real quick. I don't know if they talked to an attorney before this interview, but this is actually not a good interview for them. So let me rewind. Let me actually go ahead and zoom out real quick. But this is an absolute. It's not a terrible interview, but it's not the interview that I would want my client saying if I'm filed a lawsuit against several persons.
The couple is suing Heaven Bound along with its owners, Rosa Turner and Brandon Williams, and Stewart Funeral Home here in D.C. Fox 5 has reached out to all of the defendants for comment. We've not yet heard back.
Okay, so let's talk about it. I'm actually going to downsize that because we may want to look at that interview, the last part again, because I want to tell y'all why that it wasn't a bad interview, but it wasn't an interview that I would want my client to give. So, young couple had a child passed away. They go to a funeral home in DC. They're assured that this funeral home, this crematory, will do what the family wants done with the remains. And they said, yo, we're going to treat you like family. This funeral home essentially contracts the job out to another funeral home that's in Montgomery County, Maryland. This funeral home in Montgomery County, Maryland is trash as hell. Since 2017, they've had allegations of mishandling corpses and doing the wrong things. They've been looked at by the licensing board. They were shut down because they had bodies in boxes. It just gets absolutely crazy. Funeral comes up, I'm assuming at some point in time, the young couple receives ashes that they believe are those of their baby. Then they get a call from law enforcement saying, you've been the victim of a crime and we found your child and their body is here decomposing. And the same stuff that the child had on during the funeral with the same teddy bear in their arm. Now, absolutely terrible. I'm assuming that this funeral home is probably broke as fuck. I think the funeral home is probably broke as hell, considering that they had so many problems since 2017. So funeral home A, the funeral home in Washington, D.C., who was supposed to do the job, is named as a defendant. Funeral home B, the funeral home who screwed everything up, is named as a defendant. Now, I personally think there should be another defendant here. Let's talk about it. Let's go and get this comment real quick. Yep, reckless endangerment of a child. The funeral home has a hidden illegal practice that has been constant and consistent. The owner and embalmer should be placed under the jail. They knew better. I agree with you 100% on that, Gary. I actually think because I didn't even watch the whole video. I didn't watch the video. I just kind of knew of the story because I saw it on the news, but I didn't know all the details. But the very first question I had was if this funeral home had these issues since 2017, why are they even still operating with multiple lawsuits going on? I actually think a third named defendant should be the state. I would name the state licensing board as a defendant as well. Now, again, the state is always going to try to say, do we got some immunity? Can we weasel our way out of it? I'm telling y'all right now, I would name this. I don't know who the attorney is. If the state has some legal mechanism potentially where they can remove themselves, but no, I think the government, I think the state of Maryland is probably the biggest perpetrator of this, because if this place has been having issues since 2017, it's 2025. Had the licensing board done their job, this place would not even be operating right now for this not to happen. So I would say that the government, the licensing board, is the actual proximate cause of all of this. But for your mistake in allowing them to continue to operate when they should have been banned from operating years ago, this wouldn't have happened. That would be my argument. And the best part about it is I'm sure the state, even though the state of Maryland is broke as hell, but their pockets is a lot deeper than funeral home in DC. Their pockets are probably a lot deeper than this funeral home that has these multitude of lawsuits. So that's how I would frame my complaint. Now, the cause of action that they're going for on the civil side is essentially a tort, is essentially negligence. We went through negligence before, but negligence has a couple of other names to it, but it's still a negligence claim. Negligence, in order to prove it, there has to be a duty of care. You have a duty to act in this manner. There has to be a breach of duty. You breach that duty that you were required to use or show. There has to be damages, loss of income if it was a car accident, emotional distress, those type of things, actual punitive damages. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So it has to be a duty owed. It has to be a breach of duty. There has to be damages. And the defendant's conduct has to be the proximate cause of the actual harm. What that means is they call it a but-for test. If we were saying for the funeral home, we're charging the funeral home with this negligence. It's actually called wrongful handling of a corpse, but the legal analysis is a negligence theory. Funeral homes and innkeepers, hotels, they have a higher duty of care when it comes to negligence because their job is directly related to customer service. So that's why this is broken out as an actual civil thing that you learn in law school. But they call it the but-for test. Did the funeral home have a duty to owe to the client? Yes. Did they breach that duty? Hell yeah. Both funeral homes breached the duty. Funeral home A breached the duty because they informed the client that they were going to do the job and they punted it off to somebody else. Funeral home B breached the duty because they just didn't do the damn job at all. Just left the damn body there like some assholes. So clearly a duty, clearly a breach of duty, clearly emotional damages, some type of pain and suffering. And was the action of the defendant the proximate cause? But for the conduct of the defendant, would this harm have happened? If the answer is no, that means that you have a viable lawsuit. So if we did that same analysis, they need to include the state of Maryland in this, that same analysis, did the state of Maryland licensing board have a duty to make sure that they were properly vetting crematories and funeral homes to do the job right so that they can make sure people got the services they paid for? Everybody's going to say absolutely yes to that because it's obvious. Did they breach that duty? This place has been under the gun since 2017. Bodies in boxes, arms and limbs and ass and snot and shit hanging out everywhere. Yes, they clearly breached that duty by not doing the job, and the police officers found this poor child's body. Did they breach the duty? Was there damages? Absolutely, there was damages, emotional damages galore. And was their conduct the proximate cause? But for the state giving this license out when they should have, would this have happened? The answer is actually probably no. I think it's a great argument. I think the government has deeper pockets than anybody. Throw their ass in the lawsuit as well. Yeah, funeral home violated the custody and control. You are 100% right on that, Gary. Again, funeral homes have a higher standard of care. That's on the civil side. On the criminal side, a lot of states has codified that civil analysis to a criminal analysis. Why is it criminal? Why did they codify it? Because essentially it's fraud. That's essentially what it is. Essentially, it's a fraud thing, just broken out under a different name. Person who owns a funeral home or a crematory, they charge $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. We'll take care of your family and do the right thing. They get the body, they disregard the body, they destroy the body the completely wrong way, in a way that's completely illegal. It doesn't cost them anything to do whatever the hell, bury the body in their grandmother's backyard. They hand the client ashes from newspapers that were burnt, and they just took in $10,000 and didn't even have to waste any money or spend any money on the cost to do what the family actually wanted. So a lot of states has codified that type of scheme into criminal charges. So they're definitely looking at criminal charges. Now, I want to rewind this real quick and tell you why this interview, I get it, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have said anything, but generally, I don't do interviews. Generally, if something like this happened, it's not a good idea to do an interview because you're emotional. You're not going to be at your sharpest. You're going to say what's exactly on your heart, and the family is within the right to do that, but it's just something that could potentially be problematic. So let's go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to rewind it back, and I'm going to tell y'all why this was not a good interview. I'm going to play it all the way through, then we're going to talk about it. But y'all let me know, what do I think? If you were their attorney, what was bad about this interview? Not saying it was the worst interview. I mean, I don't think they'll be at issue. I think people understand. But if I were their attorney, I probably wouldn't have had them talk, or I would have read a statement on their behalf.
About their son's remains.
Fact that I did carry him for 9 months, and he was my only boy, my first boy. And then the way he was just woman to look so much like me, and I'm not even gonna be able to experience like his first date, know what his favorite color was. It just everything all at once. Like when you just thinking about it, it's just like I would never get to know what kind of person he would be.
The couple is suing.
Again, all right. Now, that is not the worst interview, but it's some things that I don't like about it. One, I think whoever filed the lawsuit, whoever the attorney was, he should have read a statement, or at least gave them a statement for them to read. Well, not read, but I would have probably just did it if I was the attorney. And they just stand in the background and just look how I know they feel inside, which is absolutely terrible, which is 100% valid. The reason I don't like the interview is because what they are talking about isn't the focus point of the actual lawsuit. Now, it's not going to harm their case, but they're talking about the actual loss of their son. Rest in peace to the little one. But they're talking about the loss of their son. What I would push a statement, if I were drafting a statement, it would be talking about the loss of their son, but it would also, and more so, talk about the trauma and the pain that was caused from the actions of the funeral home, from them finding out that their baby can't even rest in peace because his remains were not destroyed property. They just left him there as if he was nothing, as if he didn't matter to anybody. The state didn't care about its own citizens because they allowed these guys to continue to operate for years when they knew these people had multiple lawsuits and multiple allegations. The thing that I would have driven home, and I think that, again, this isn't the worst interview, but I think it was missing a component. But I'm not faulting them for it because this is fucked up. I feel bad just listening to it and talking about it. So I'm not faulting them for it, but their focus was on the loss of their child, and that's a part of it. But the other part of it is after the loss, we can't even start we can't even go through the healing process, and we're still in this grieving stage, and now it's just compounded by what this funeral home did and what the state did by not doing their job to allow this. That shit should have been driven home. I think that would have been an amazing point. Even though it wasn't driven home in an interview, there is absolutely no way that a jury would disagree with anything that this family is saying. I mean, you have to be a cold-blooded, calculated person, a monster, to think that no. This is a jury is going to be on their side 110%. I don't care how the interview went. I think that this government should be named as a defendant because I think that they lost or they breached the duty of care. I think that they were negligent. And you can bring a civil lawsuit against a state entity. They have a Tort Claims Act that allow people to sue government entities for negligence for a tort as if they were a person, so to speak. Desertion of a corpse and disposal of a corpse violation. Yep. And shout out to you. I appreciate you chiming in, Gary, and giving me the insight because I'm just talking generally. I didn't actually look up what the statute was. I was just giving an overall broad perspective. But that's an absolute terrible story. I don't know. Like, I don't know the financial status of each of the two funeral homes that were sued. Funeral home A may be the funeral home that they went to in DC, may be in a better financial status because we didn't hear anything about them being absolutely fucking terrible at their job. Funeral home B, who actually did this heinous act, probably if a business is run like that, I don't think that they're doing the right thing with the money. The chances are very slim. So I think that this lawsuit should be amended. If their attorney is watching, if there's watching, this lawsuit should be amended. They should look at a Tort Claim Act against the state licensing board. It actually would help their case that Governor Wes Moore launched an investigation into the licensing board. And again, as the accountability episode, somebody should fucking lose their job over this. A lot of people should lose their job. A lot of people should lose their money over this because this is terrible and a travesty. Yeah. What's going on, Harley? I appreciate you tuning in. But I don't know. This story is absolutely terrible. Let's see. I don't know. That's actually a good question. That's actually a good question. If there are any bidding contracts. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Have I ever seen... I don't think I've ever seen such services under a contract, a government contract. Not saying it can't happen. You probably can do it. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know. I don't think what I can say is I've never seen it. Not saying it's not possible. It is plausible that there could be some type of government contract to perform certain services, but generally, crematories, funeral homes are independently operated. Now, what type of government programs have I seen when it comes to these type of things, funeral homes, crematories, is when it's a result of a violent crime. I know because my brother passed away as a result of a violent crime. Now, they do have government programs where they'll reimburse you the funeral cost if the decedent passed away as a result of a violent crime and they didn't do something to contribute to that act that led to their untimely demise. So I don't know. I can't see a government entity being contractually obligated to be in this type of game. It's just too much risk involved. If I were general counsel somewhere, I would highly advise against it. But that is a good question. It could be possible. I've never seen it done, but it could be completely possible. Absolutely terrible. But yo, y'all let me know especially with the last two stories. I think everything else we all kind of got a consensus on. But in those last two stories, y'all let me know in the comments. I think that two things should happen. I think the charges should be brought against the adults for the toddler who fell off the 15th floor of an apartment building. I'm so happy that baby is still alive and going to live to tell the story one day. But some of the adults in the room should be held accountable. And when it comes to our last story, the mishandling of a corpse, from a criminal perspective, send these assholes to jail. But from a civil perspective, do you think that the state of Maryland should be a named defendant because their licensing board allowed this terrible crematory to operate, even though they've had complaints, they had numerous lawsuits, they had bodies just thrown in boxes and shit was looking all crazy. They've been letting this place operate like that since 2017, since they've been mired in all of this controversy. I think everybody's probably going to say that yes. I think that Maryland has the deepest pockets, and I hope that somehow this video makes it to the family, somehow this video makes it to the attorney. I hope that that's an option that they consider, filing an amended brief, adding them as a defendant. Yo, that's it for this video. As always, I'm grateful. I'm appreciative for y'all tuning in. I will touch bases with y'all Friday. I'll probably do a live stream Friday, but it probably will be an hour or so earlier because I may be tied up. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm truly grateful for y'all allowing me the opportunity to talk about these topics and y'all chime in. I'm appreciative of y'all support, and a big salute to all the channel members out there for the extra support. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.